Don't you worry, my lady. Your humble servant is always at your beck and call. During my senior year of high school, my parents cut me off completely, trying to force me to drop out. With nowhere else to go, I walked through the gates of a prestigious prep school packed with the children of the super rich. I only got in because my grades were so good that the school waived my tuition. But I still needed money for food. After starving for half a month, I finally worked up the courage. Dressed in my most worn-out, shabby clothes, I turned to the trust fund kids who never bothered to study. Hey, does anyone need homework done? I'll do it for, just $5 an assignment. The young masters and ladies, who had been busy showing off their wealth, stopped their chatter and stared at me in shock. A moment later, a chorus of shouts erupted. $5? Who do you think you're insulting? I'll give you 500. Do mine first. I'll pay 5,000. Put me at the front of the line. 50,000. In US dollars. Money is no object. I want to see who dares to try and get their homework done before me today. I had just started my senior year the day I was kicked out of my house. My dad's face was twisted with rage as he pointed a finger at my nose and screamed, "Other girls your age are already valuable enough to be married off. All you do is spend my money day in and day out. You're a worthless drain on this family." My mom chimed in with a tone of earnest reason. "If you don't get married, where will your brother get the money he needs to get married and carry on the family name?" I clutched a stack of academic awards, arguing with them hysterically, but it was useless. I fled the house. My dad's voice bellowed after me. "I'd like to see how you survive until you apply for college without any support from this family." With my academic record in hand, I went to several high schools. The answer was always the same. Your grades are decent, but who knows if they'll slip during your senior year. We can only offer to waive your tuition. That wasn't enough. Clinging to my last hope, I stood before St. Regis Preparatory Academy. This place was exclusively for the children of the wealthy, a hub for trust fund kids. They spent their days either fighting or flaunting their riches. Nobody studied. In their world, the SATs were just a formality. They were all heading to study abroad anyway. When I stood timidly in the office, dressed in clothes so worn they were frayed at the edges, the dean of students shot me a condescending look. "Are you sure you want to come here? Aren't you afraid you'll become a target for bullying?" I shook my head forcefully. "As long as you can waive my tuition and give me a small scholarship," I pleaded, "just a little bit. 300, no, even $100 a month would be enough. I promise I'll study hard and bring honor to the school with my SAT scores." The dean nodded in agreement. I took the 10,000 scholarship advance she offered, thanked her profusely, and backed out of the room. The moment the door closed, I heard her mutter disdainfully, $100 scholarship? Who does she think she's kidding? I successfully made it into the classroom. The chatter of the young masters and ladies paused as they all turned to size me up with curious eyes. What is she wearing? Why does it have holes? Is that the new Louis Vuitton Baghdad chic collection? Why not just say it's from Chanel? The material's so durable, it's not even falling apart after all that wear. It can't be designer. Only the cheap knockoffs have that kind of quality. Oh, you seem to know a lot about it. Have you worn some yourself? How dare you accuse me of wearing knockoffs? You're asking for a fight. I'm telling my dad to pull his investment from your family's company tomorrow. Two of the rich kids started wrestling with each other. I calmly walked past them to my seat, which was in a corner, right next to the trash can. I tuned out all the gossip around me. I had heard far worse from my own parents, so what was a little ridicule from a bunch of spoiled rich kids? I was in school now, and I had a shot at taking the SATs. No one in the class bullied me. During a break, a beautiful girl even came over to my desk, looking me over with fascination. "Sarah," she asked curiously, "why are your clothes so worn out? Don't you like this year's new couture collections? Is it possible that maybe I just can't afford the new couture? Why can't you afford it? Did they cut off your allowance? You can still draw from your trust fund." I sighed softly. "What's a trust fund?" Crystal rested her chin on her hand and looked at me. "How did you get here?" I walked. "I got up super early. Why didn't you have your driver take you?" "I don't have a car or a driver." "Then why not ride your motorcycle?" "I don't have a motorcycle either." "Oh, I get it," she said, her eyes lighting up. You only like to fly in the helicopter, but it broke down this morning, so you couldn't take it, right? I covered my face with my book. Forget it. There was no explaining this. 2 weeks into the school year, I was like a ghost, hiding in the corner of the classroom, cramming for exams. Gradually, the teachers started to appreciate me more and more. I was the only one who actually paid attention in class. Not only did I listen attentively, but I would also occasionally raise my hand to answer questions, saving the teachers from awkward silences. But my focus was starting to drift. I was starving. So hungry I felt like chewing on my desk. My tuition was covered, but I still needed a place to live. The dean had flatly refused my request to stay in the dorms, saying my family background was too poor and that the other students wouldn't approve. I had to rent a place off campus. And rent was so expensive. After a lot of haggling, the landlord barely agreed to let me pay for just 6 months up front. My $10,000 scholarship advance instantly dwindled to $500. In a city as expensive as Shanghai, that only got me a small attic room in a remote neighborhood. After paying for utilities, the $500 was gone. My grades weren't good enough yet to guarantee a spot in the Ivy League, so I didn't dare ask the dean for more scholarship money. Coming from such a terrible home environment, my study time was already severely limited. Despite my best efforts to catch up, my last exam score from junior year was only good enough for a top-tier state school. I wasn't some protagonist from a fantasy novel who could date, casually flip through some practice questions, and then ace the exam to get into Harvard or Yale. My stomach hadn't had any food in over 8 hours. What I ate this morning was a piece of steak and half of a tuna sandwich I'd found in the school trash can. It was delicious, but it wasn't nearly enough. I bit my lip and looked up at my classmates, who were getting ready to leave for the day. They were already planning where to go play golf or whether to host a party on a yacht. I pinched myself hard, mustered up all my courage, and asked timidly, "Excuse me, everyone, does anyone need homework done? I'll do it for, just $5 an assignment." I had never seen any of these rich kids do their homework. Every time a teacher assigned something, I was the only one who diligently wrote it down, then went back to my stuffy rental to finish it under a desk lamp I'd salvaged from the trash. After I asked my question, the young masters and ladies, who had been busy bragging to each other, fell silent. They all stared at me, completely shocked. Crystal's voice, full of disbelief, broke the silence. "Class president, you actually do homework?" Ever since I had won the high praise of every teacher, I had been promoted to the position of class president. Naturally, all the classroom cleaning duties fell on my shoulders. My voice was as quiet as a mosquito's buzz. "Yes, I do. I'm fast and my work is accurate. If you're looking for someone to do your homework, you should consider me first. I don't charge much. Just $5 per worksheet, and if you buy 5, you get 1 free." Considering these kids' families were all in business, and I'd overheard a lot of their talk, I quickly added, "The price is negotiable." The look of astonishment on everyone's faces shattered. A moment later, they snapped out of it, and a wave of shouts washed over the room. $5? Who are you trying to insult? 500. Do mine first. I want my dad to see that his son is a dedicated student. 500? You've got some nerve. I'll pay 5,000. Put me at the front of the line. 50,000. In US dollars. Money is the one thing I'm not short on. Let's light this candle. I want to see who dares to try and get theirs done before me today. The classroom descended into chaos. Their offers became more and more outrageous. You'd think I was writing the Declaration of Independence, not a chemistry worksheet. I quickly waved my hands to stop them. "It's just $5. I can't take more. If you want it done, I'll do it one by one in the order you asked. It's all just math and science, so it'll be quick. Business needs to be steady and sustainable." I was afraid that if I took too much, their parents would find out and I'd be in trouble. I had learned that lesson back in freshman year when I was doing homework for cash. I took on a rush job for $6, and the kids' parents saw it on their bank statement. The next day, they were at my front door, yelling at me for ages. The shouting continued, but Crystal managed to snag the first spot. She triumphantly transferred $20 to my account. My second-hand phone lagged for what felt like an eternity before the transaction finally went through. Staring at the 20 balance, I excitedly assured her, "Don't you worry, Miss Crystal. I promise I'll make your homework look absolutely perfect tonight." That day, I made $100. I took 5 orders. I was up until 1 in the morning doing the work. To maintain quality, I never took on too much. The next day after school, I was looking at the new $100 in my account, about to sling my Chanel backpack a dumpster find over my shoulder and head home. But the richest and most explosive girl in class, Jessica, blocked my path. She admired her diamond-encrusted manicure, then nodded at her 2 followers. "Drag her to the bathroom for me." Even the bathrooms at St. Regis Prep were brighter and more spacious than the attic I was living in. But a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Everyone had gone home, so the bathroom was empty. Was she going to bully me? But I couldn't figure out what I had done to offend her. Since transferring to this school, I had tried my best to be invisible. I worked hard to shrink my presence, to not draw their attention. When they showed off in front of me, I would stare at the dizzying logos and quickly say something like, "That's so beautiful, it must have been really expensive." Only then would they be satisfied, saying, "It wasn't that expensive. Only a hick like you would think so." This bag wasn't even $1 million. The money I made from one worksheet wouldn't even buy a single thread on that bag. Jessica smiled menacingly and lifted my chin with her hand. "You're our class president," she said, drawing out the words. My heart pounded like a drum. My mind raced, trying to recall the past month and a half. I hadn't had any conflict with Jessica. Every time she flaunted her wealth, I made sure to look envious and offer a few compliments. I had taken her $5 last night and delivered her homework on time, no delays. Her fiancé, who she was set to marry for business reasons, was also in our class. The only thing I had ever said to him was, "Hi Chad. Jessica asked me to tell you she's waiting downstairs to go out on the yacht." I truly couldn't think of how I had offended her. Her 2 friends held my arms tightly and I couldn't move. I thought to myself, if it comes down to it, I'll just drink some toilet water and beg for mercy until she's satisfied. As long as I can stay here and continue my studies. Jessica calmly took out her phone. The tapping of her long nails on the screen made a chilling sound. Her crisp voice came from above me. "In a minute, you'd better know what to say and what not to say." As my heart pounded with fear, she dialed a number. A stern, middle-aged man's voice came from the other end. "Jessica, what's wrong?" "Daddy, I really did my homework yesterday. My fingers still hurt. If you don't believe me, ask our class president. She's smart enough to get into the Ivy League on her own merits, you know." With that, she held the phone in front of my face and shot me a vicious glare. I swallowed hard. "Hello, sir. This is Sarah, the class president." Yes, Jessica really did her homework all by herself." "Is that so? When did she do it?" My brain went into overdrive. Jessica was out on the yacht yesterday, so there were definitely no witnesses at sea. "Sir, after school yesterday, Jessica said she wanted to focus on her studies, so she stayed behind at school to do her homework." Jessica nodded, finally satisfied. "Did you hear that, Daddy? I really did my homework." "Haha, that's my girl. You're finally starting to focus on your studies. I'll add an extra $1 million to your allowance every month from now on." Jessica hung up the phone triumphantly. "You're smart. I'm the only daughter of the CEO of J Corp. My dad has no other children, no illegitimate kids. The G family fortune is mine for the taking. From now on, you'll do my homework every day. Don't worry, I'll make it worth your while. But if you dare cross me, you'll regret it." I nodded my head like a woodpecker. The hands holding me let go, and Jessica strutted away on her stilettos. Once she was gone, I finally dared to pick up my backpack from the floor and hurry home, still shaken. The delay meant that by the time I got back, the sky was already growing dark. My mind was on the homework I had to do tonight, and I walked as fast as I could. As I stepped into my rundown apartment complex, I saw 2 figures waiting for me under the dim light. My father's terrifying voice cut through the air. "You've been gone for a month, but I finally found where you've been hiding." My legs felt like they were filled with lead, so heavy I could barely move. The memories of all the times he had beaten me flashed before my eyes. He lunged forward, ripped my backpack from my shoulder, and slapped me hard across the face. The force sent me stumbling back several feet. My dad roared. You've got some nerve, running off 100 miles away to go to school in secret. I raised you, fed you, paid for you. And not only have you not brought a single penny into this house, you dared to run away? I've already accepted the bridal payment, $38,800. We're just waiting for you to come back for the engagement. You're coming home today, whether you like it or not. In the heat of early autumn, I could feel the spit flying from his mouth onto my face. It was then that I noticed a van parked next to the building. It was old and battered, its windows completely blacked out. My dad waved his hand impatiently. Hurry up, drag her into the van. We've got a long drive ahead of us. Several men rushed out of the van. I looked closely. They were my relatives. Our family wasn't desperately poor, but my dad was vehemently against me continuing my education. His determination to make me drop out only grew stronger after my brother failed his high school entrance exams last year, and my dad had to scrape together a fortune to send him to a private school. I had no friends here. The only people I knew were my classmates. As the men closed in on me, I quickly pulled out my phone. It was a new model Jessica had tossed to me that afternoon, one she was done with. A reward, she'd said, for being so cooperative. The phone was fast, no lag. I quickly opened the class group chat, which was buzzing with activity. Yachts are boring. It's always the same old thing. I'm so over it. Check out my complete figurine collection. It cost me over $3 million. I heard Jessica's allowance went up. Maybe we should book the whole golf course tomorrow? Let's go horseback riding instead. My little pony must miss me. I haven't seen him in days. Amidst all the cheerful banter, I sent a voice message, my voice trembling with sobs and screams. This is Sarah. My dad is trying to make me drop out and go home to get engaged. My phone has location services on. Please someone come and save me. The old van sped down the highway. My heart pounded in my chest as I stared anxiously at the guardrails flashing by outside the window. A wave of despair washed over me. I had only known these new classmates for a month. Why would a bunch of rich kids care about what happened to me? But I couldn't think of anyone else to call for help. I was less than a year away from taking my SATs. Dropping out now would mean all my efforts were for nothing. The van took me from the bustling city toward the desolate, remote countryside. I stared intently at the door, calculating my chances of survival if I jumped out. Just then a luxury car, engine roaring, shot past our van. Its modified exhaust made a deafening boom as it accelerated. My dad jumped, startled. He yelled at my uncle who was driving, "Hey, be careful. That's a Lamborghini. We can't afford to even scratch that thing." No sooner had he spoken than several more cars sped past us. All of them were high-performance luxury cars. My dad, smoking a cigarette, couldn't help but curse. Why are these people so rich? How come I can't ever get a break? After overtaking our van, these cars slowed down, blocking the road ahead. They forced our van into the nearest rest stop. Behind us, a dozen more luxury cars pulled in. The car doors opened. A crowd of familiar faces appeared before me. My dad knew better than to mess with rich people and was a bit intimidated, but he still tried to sound tough. "What do you all want?" From the passenger seat of the Lamborghini, Crystal got out, her face dark with anger. Usually sweet-tempered, she now looked like she was ready to commit murder. She gritted her teeth. "What do we want? If it wasn't for you, Sarah would be starting on my homework right now. My mom just spent all day praising me, and now you're trying to take her away?" My dad's voice started to tremble. "She's my daughter. I can take her with me whenever I want. What gives you the right to interfere? Who are you people?" Leaning against his Maybach, Chad casually lit a cigarette and chimed in. "All I know is, I didn't get a spot for homework help last night. I finally got one for tonight, and now hell could freeze over, and I still wouldn't let anyone take our class president away." With that, he glanced up at the sky, his expression suddenly softening with affection. "Are my girlfriends here?" I looked up at the dark sky in terror. The high-speed rotor blades of a helicopter kicked up a fierce wind, making it hard to keep my eyes open. The helicopter landed smoothly in an open area. Jessica stepped out, wearing 3-inch heels, followed by 3 bodyguards, her presence commanding. She glanced down at me, then pulled me behind her. Her cold, Fierce gaze swept over my father several times. My uncle was so scared his legs were about to give out. He grabbed my dad's sleeve. Sam, you didn't tell me you made enemies with this many rich people. If I had known you were in this much trouble, I never would have come along on this trip. My dad was still making his last stand. I am just taking my daughter home. Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to tell me what to do? Slap. A sharp slap landed across my dad's face. The diamond-encrusted nails left several bloody scratches. Jessica's voice was icy. Who do I think I am? I'm your worst nightmare. Damn it, I finally found a poor country bumpkin I can properly show off to, and you have the nerve to try and take her away? If she leaves, who am I supposed to flaunt my wealth for? Everyone in our class, and even the whole school, was rich. They were all constantly, secretly competing with each other. When it came to showing off, no one would back down. Everyone held their ground, determined not to lose. I was the only exception. No matter who was showing off in front of me, I would quickly put on an envious expression and praise the luxury item to the heavens. This greatly satisfied their vanity. In just a few short days, whenever someone in the class got a new luxury item, they would immediately come to show it off to me. Several bodyguards swarmed my dad, punching and kicking him. Jessica pulled me, my eyes welling with tears, onto the helicopter and comforted me in a soft voice. If I had known that old van was so slow, I would have had my driver chase you down instead of taking the helicopter. Just filing the flight plan took an hour. I can't believe they all got here before me. Don't worry, we're here for you. You just focus on doing our homework, and we'll take care of everything else. I rubbed my sore eyes and nodded vigorously. That night, I stayed in my small attic room in Shanghai. I meticulously completed the 5 homework assignments I had, making sure the handwriting was neat and tidy. The next day, I went to school early. During the morning study hall, the classroom was filled with the usual noise and laughter. I gathered my courage, stood up, and bowed to everyone. Thank you all for giving me a second chance to continue my education. The noise stopped. Many of the students exchanged glances. I returned to my seat, feeling a bit lost. Then students started to walk over to the trash can behind me, one by one, and toss things in. They were all used high-end designer bags. A few students, too lazy to get up, just threw second-hand clothes in my direction. One landed right on my head. I pulled it off. The huge luxury logo on it was so bright it almost blinded me. Even second-hand, it was worth thousands of dollars. I quickly folded it and put it in the large, cheap woven bag at my feet. Crystal strolled in late. She was holding a few old-looking bags. Jessica gestured toward the back of the room. Just toss them in the trash. She'll pick them up herself. Is there a single trash can in this school she hasn't rummaged through? My eyes lit up, and I subtly shifted my body. I made sure the overflowing trash can was in full view. I finally made it through the school day. I quickly opened my woven bag and carefully packed the items from the trash can inside. LV and Prada bags, Armani clothes, an unopened bottle of Gucci perfume, and many other brands I didn't recognize. After I had packed everything, my bag was full of loot. I struggled to hoist the heavy bag onto my back. When I turned around, I saw Jessica and her 2 friends looking at me with disdain. I gave them a sheepish smile and was about to say hello. She said impatiently, "Drag her into the car for me." I was horrified. I clung to the doorframe and refused to let go. "My lady, please have mercy. Can we do this later? I haven't even gone through the rest of the campus trash cans today." Jessica rolled her eyes even harder. Ignoring my desperate pleas, she ordered her friends to shove me and my giant bag into the luxury car. Just 5 minutes later, the car stopped at the Riverside Estates, a neighborhood near the school. The apartments here started at several tens of millions of dollars. It was a well-known enclave for the rich in Shanghai. I clutched my bag tightly and asked cautiously, "Mississippi Jessica, what are we doing here?" Jessica tossed me a set of keys. Suite 702. "This is your new home from now on. Pack your things tonight and move in. This way, you won't have to waste time commuting every day. You can use the extra time to do more homework. My 2 friends here haven't been able to get a spot for 2 days straight. You can do their homework tonight too." The apartment I had been renting was over 12 miles from the school. Even though St. Regis didn't have evening classes for these rich kids, by the time I finished my dumpster diving after school and biked home, it was at least 8 o'clock. My error rate on the homework couldn't be too high. I had to meticulously complete the day's assignments, and by the time I was done, it was nearly 11. I could only start copying the work into their notebooks when the city was quiet. Not to mention, I had to wake up at 5 in the morning to avoid being late. If I could live closer to school, I could take on at least 10 homework orders a day. But I looked up at the lavishly decorated building. I mumbled to Jessica, "This place must be very expensive. I can't let you spend so much." She waved her hand dismissively. "It's nothing. My family owns this entire building." I successfully moved into my new home. Not only did my homework orders increase to 10 a day, but I also took on all the odd jobs for the class. During breaks, I became the class gopher. "Class president, pick up a package for me. Here's a $100 tip." "Class president, my butler just dropped off my lunch. I'm so sick of all this air-freighted seafood. You can have it." "Sarah, I left something in my dorm. Go get it for me. $300 for your trouble." "Class president, get me some water. Here's 100. I nodded enthusiastically at every request. I'd haul in dozens of packages in my woven bag, then immediately run off to fetch water. On top of that, they gave me all their unwanted luxury goods, which I would then sell on secondhand websites. I was saving up for my college tuition and living expenses. Life fell into a routine. But every time I left the school gates, I felt a pair of eyes on me. It was an undisguised, angry stare. Every time I looked back, I couldn't see who it was in the bustling crowd. This continued until my 4th month at the school. The first final exams had just ended. My scores had improved since I first enrolled. I was just on the cusp of getting into an Ivy League school. After school, I was heading home happily with my report card. Suddenly, a woman darted out from the school gate, grabbed my leg and started screaming, "So Sarah, no wonder you wouldn't come home. You ran off to a fancy school to find a sugar daddy. Everyone come and see. My daughter is living in a mansion with a rich man and refuses to even come home." I looked closely. Wrapped in a shabby old coat, it was my mother. Her voice was sharp and piercing, drawing the attention of countless students. They stared curiously at my mother, whispering among themselves. Seeing she had an audience, my mom became even more animated, clinging to my pant leg and refusing to let go. "My daughter has been obsessed with money and status since she was a little girl. She spends money like water. Our family has worried ourselves sick over her. And now, because she thinks the money we gave her wasn't enough, she's stooped so low as to become someone's mistress. She hasn't been home in 4 months. Please help me convince her to come home." At the end of her speech, my mom even started sobbing, wiping away fake tears and snot. This was her usual tactic: crying, screaming, and threatening to cause a scene. When I was little, I often saw her argue with the neighbors. When she was in the right, she would be loud and aggressive. When she was in the wrong, she would throw a tantrum on the ground, trying to seize the moral high ground through sheer chaos. Right now, her eyes were darting around, a clear sign she was lying. Before I left home, my mom had screamed at me hysterically, "Other girls your age are either engaged and bringing in money, or they're out working to support their families. Why should you get to live so comfortably? Spending the family's money and you still want to go to college? Who do you think you are to be thinking about college?" She had spent her whole life stuck in the mud. Looking back, in our entire family, only my status was lower than hers. So she was determined to push me down even further, just to give herself a sense of superiority. The drama continued, and a crowd of students gathered at the school gate. In the crowd, a fashionably dressed girl suddenly pointed at me and exclaimed, "Isn't that Sarah from the senior class? Her post has been pinned at the top of the school forum forever." With that, she took out her phone and pulled up the post. Then she held it in front of my mom. My mom became even more energized. She was convinced that the news of me being a kept woman was known to everyone. Her voice grew louder and more passionate. "She stole so much money from our family and ran away, but it seems that still wasn't enough to satisfy her vanity. See, the news has spread all over the school. I have to take her back today and teach her a lesson." Before she could finish, the words caught in her throat. On the large phone screen, a video was playing. The video started, and a figure, bent over like a bow, appeared. It was me shortly after I had enrolled. I was wearing shabby, torn clothes. On my shoulder was a large woven bag, and I was diligently rummaging through the school's trash cans. I found a few plastic water bottles, and with a look of delight, I stomped them flat and tossed them into my bag. Next, I pulled out a half-eaten sandwich in a container. I looked like I had discovered a new continent. I quickly took out the brand new container, and, ignoring the strange looks from people around me, squatted right there by the trash can and devoured the sandwich. After I finished eating, I didn't forget to toss the container into my bag as well. Then I continued on to the next trash can. The video had been edited. In total, I had gone through 17 trash cans. I found over 30 plastic bottles and 6 half-eaten meals. Only after my bag was full did I leave the school, humming a little tune. I ignored the disdainful looks from everyone around me. The thought of being able to continue my studies and go to college made me automatically block out all those stares. The video ended. A soft chuckle rippled through the crowd. So who's the sugar daddy? Step up and claim her. This girl is so broke she's collecting bottles to make a living. Her sponsor must be a delivery driver. The color drained from my mother's face. She looked completely defeated. Through the dense crowd, Jessica arrived, fashionably late as always, with her bodyguards in tow. She frowned at my mom and said menacingly, "Another one?" My mom was startled and stammered, "I'm here to take my daughter home." "Who the hell do you think you are?" Slap. Jessica slapped her hard across the face. As expected, her nails left scratches. "Who do I think I am?" "Let's just say you don't want to find out. The miscellaneous fees for next semester are due soon. If you take your daughter, who's going to be my witness when I ask my family for the money? Get her out of here." The bodyguard swarmed forward. My mom screamed and yelled, but she was still restrained and dragged away. I stood there, stunned and unsure what to do. Jessica looked down at me. I flinched and instinctively clutched my woven bag for security. She smirked and lifted my chin. "Class president, the teacher announced the miscellaneous fees for next semester today. Do you know how much they are?" I nodded quickly. I know. The teacher said it's $20,000. That was so much money. More valuable than my life. This truly was a school for the rich. Even a small miscellaneous fee was this high. Fortunately, the school had waived all fees for me, and I had made a decent amount selling second-hand luxury goods. My little nest egg was growing. Jessica's face grew serious. Around us, many of my classmates had gathered. They huddled together, whispering among themselves. After a long discussion, they finally seemed to agree on a number. Then they all started calling their parents, talking over each other. "Dad, the miscellaneous fees really went up. If you don't believe me, ask our class president. She's smart enough to get into the Ivy League." "Mom, why don't you believe me? I'll have our class president send you a voice message." "Sis, you're like a mother to me. Please, can you give me some extra allowance? The fees are really high this time." Jessica looked at me and held up her fingers, signaling a number. Dozens of phones were thrust in my face, all on active voice calls. I swallowed hard. "Hello, uncles, aunts, and sisters. The teacher said the miscellaneous fees. The fees will be..." I looked up at Jessica again for confirmation. I steeled myself, ready to face the consequences. $2 million. From a small miscellaneous fee, our class managed to generate the GDP of a small country. The next round of competitive flaunting had begun. Meanwhile, I was immersed in the stressful and busy final year of high school, facing 3 rounds of mock exams. My grades were inching forward like a snail, slowly but surely. During this time, fewer and fewer people in class asked me to run errands for them. They would watch me scribbling away furiously and remark, "Our class president is really something else. She got a 705 on the 3rd mock exam. She's definitely getting into an Ivy League school. No one better bother our future Ivy Leaguer." This atmosphere almost makes me want to study too. My parents never came to bother me again. Perhaps it was because the school, wanting me to succeed and bring them honor, had tightened its security, immediately chasing away anyone who looked suspicious. Or maybe Jessica, to solve the problem once and for all, had sent her bodyguards to my parents' house to completely trash the place. Now, our relatives avoided my parents like the plague, afraid of getting caught up in their troubles. This peace lasted until I walked out of my last SAT exam. When the final test was over, a huge weight lifted from my shoulders. I looked up at the open sky. It was clear and bright, just like the future I was about to embrace. As the hot summer turned to late June, the SAT scores were released. My score was so high it was shielded, meaning it wasn't publicly displayed. The day I returned to school, I stood on the stage. Below, my classmates, all about to fly off to study at universities around the world, were chattering excitedly. Our class president is amazing. When she first transferred, her scores were only good enough for a top state school, but look at her SAT results. I told you she'd get into an Ivy League school no problem. That's our class president for you. I heard some other classes paid a fortune to recruit top students, but their scores ended up being just average. Sigh, I'm off to the UK next month. Who knows when I'll see you all again? I have it worse. My family is sending me to Germany. The 3 years I'll spend there will be the hardest 7 years of my life. Sarah's so lucky she gets to stay here. For the first time, envious eyes were on me, but I still preferred the way they were when they were showing off their wealth. Bright and flamboyant. In the crowd, Jessica raised an eyebrow and mouthed to me, "Not bad. Your scores are pretty good. You're qualified to work for J Corp. Make sure you report for duty after you graduate." I held the microphone, wiping away tears that wouldn't stop streaming down my face. I bowed deeply to the audience below. Thank you. Thank you to every student in class of 25, Section 1. Thank you all for helping me get here today. Amid the applause, an out-of-place voice shouted, "Sarah is my sister. The scholarship money she gets for getting into an Ivy League school should be given to me." On the outskirts of the crowd, my brother Leo appeared, out of breath. His fat jiggled as he moved, a clear sign he had snuck past security to get in. My parents weren't here, only Leo. He squinted his small eyes, first greedily scanning the luxury items on the students around him. After tearing his gaze away with some difficulty, he pointed at me on the stage and yelled, "Sarah, the scholarship for getting into a top school is at least $50,000. I'm the only heir in the family, so that money should be mine. Since you weren't willing to get engaged to get me a dowry, you have to give me the scholarship money." After my mom came looking for me a few months ago, I hadn't heard anything from my family. My days were a simple routine between the school and my apartment at Riverside Estates. I never went anywhere else. A few times, I had seen my parents and Leo causing a scene in front of the building, trying to get in. But the security guards at the gate always stopped them. After they had tried to cause trouble a few times, the guards would just wave them away impatiently whenever they showed up, signaling for them to be dragged off. Standing at the huge floor-to-ceiling window in my apartment, I could clearly see the shock and greed in Leo's eyes. This place was hundreds of times better than our old home. But no matter how much he threw a fit, my dad would never be able to afford even a square foot of property for him here. The most my parents could ever do for him was a down payment on a small apartment in our hometown. But when he heard I was living here, the disparity was too much for him to bear. My uncle, who had since switched sides, told me on WhatsApp that Leo had gone on a hunger strike at home. He was demanding to be transferred to St. Regis Prep. He wanted to be like me, to rub shoulders with the rich kids and live a glamorous life. This prestigious high school had a tuition of at least $500,000 a year. Our family couldn't possibly scrape that much money together. Leo had timed his intrusion perfectly, hoping to force me to give him the scholarship money. My classmates seemed unfazed by my family drama. Jessica stood up, her 3-inch heels clicking on the floor, making her a good half head taller than Leo. She gritted her teeth. "Is this never going to end?" Leo flinched. "I'm here to get money from my sister. Who the hell are you to stick your nose in my business?" Slap. A crisp slap landed squarely on his face. Bloody scratches quickly appeared. "Who am I? I'm your worst nightmare. My family is the biggest shareholder in St. Regis Prep. If the scholarship money doesn't go to the person who earned it, are you trying to make our stock price drop?" Leo was dragged away by the bodyguards. As he was being thrown out, he was still screaming, Why shouldn't I get your money? Mom and Dad said everything in the Song family will be mine eventually. I took out my household registration booklet, which now contained only a single page, and smiled gently. Leo, I'm an adult now. I've already legally separated my household registration from the family's. From now on, I am no longer part of the Song family. As I finished speaking, a round of applause broke out from the audience below. The one leading it was Jessica. She looked at me with satisfaction. For the first time, she gave me a slight nod of approval. Hot August is a season of goodbyes. In the class group chat, almost every day someone was flying off to another country. They said their reluctant farewells, even forgetting to show off their wealth for a while. I also packed my bags, my little nest egg in my pocket, and headed north. Our group chat didn't disband. 2 months into the semester, Chad sent a video to the group and tagged me. Sarah, your brother transferred to our high school. The quiet group instantly erupted. The day before I left for college, my dad called me using my uncle's phone. His voice was meek and pleading. Sarah, you and Leo are brother and sister. Now that he's at St. Regis too, shouldn't you, as the older sister, help him out with some money? I laughed coldly. When I went there, the school didn't charge me any tuition. Why does he have to pay? My dad stammered. Well, Leo, he's boys develop later. It's normal for him to be behind in his studies. He'll get better when he's older. He started school at 6 and he's 17 now and still hasn't developed. Is he waiting until he's in his coffin to finally get it? Seeing that I had no intention of giving him money, my dad exploded in anger. Don't think you're so great just because you got into a top university. Leo is a boy, he'll definitely do better than you. Once he gets to know a few rich kids and builds his own network, he'll be much more successful than you. In the end, my parents made a drastic decision. They sold their house and managed to scrape together a few $100,000. They sent him to the prestigious high school. In their minds, if their son entered the upper class, he would get help from the rich kids. This small investment would soon pay off. I eagerly opened the video. In it, Leo sat arrogantly in the back row of the classroom. He was wearing a cheap knockoff of a famous brand, bought with the money from selling their house. It was ill-fitting. A classmate shot him a disdainful look and said condescendingly, Leo, how can you wear such a fake knockoff? Aren't you embarrassing our class? When I first transferred, I didn't even have knockoffs, just cheap clothes from a street market. People made fun of my worn-out clothes too. But I just smiled sheepishly and quietly explained that they were the best clothes I had. Then I would turn around and praise the beautiful clothes they were wearing. Once I had shown my admiration, their attitude toward me softened. But Leo didn't see it that way. He believed everyone in the class looked down on him. So he put up his defenses, jumping up and yelling arrogantly, what knockoff? These are genuine. So what if you're rich? When I get rich, I'll crush all of you. The response was a group of them dragging him to the bathroom. Then they shoved his head into a toilet. Leo struggled desperately, gulping down toilet water, while still managing to curse at them between gasps. In a school full of rich kids, the teachers never bothered with such things. Plus, Leo's admission was bought with money, and his grades weren't even good enough for a regular state university. The teachers had even less patience for him. Within a month of starting school, Leo was being bullied daily. The rich kids had found a new toy and had plenty of time and money to torment him. Unwilling to be bullied, he approached the prettiest girl in class and said arrogantly, let's get engaged. If you give me your family's money to start a business, once I'm successful, I'll remember your kindness and won't divorce you. The girl was stunned. The next day, Leo was beaten half to death outside the school. My parents also lost their jobs, and their landlord evicted them. After begging and pleading everywhere, my parents finally found a dilapidated one-room apartment far from the school. The three of them squeezed in together. Leo's school life became increasingly difficult. When the teacher stood at the front of the class with a deadpan expression and announced a $30,000 fee for chemistry lab materials, my parents could no longer afford the exorbitant costs of his education. As the only student in the school who couldn't pay, Leo was forced to drop out. As he was being dragged out of the school by security, he was still screaming at the top of his lungs, "My sister got to study here. Why can't I?" No one paid any attention to his shouts. I closed the video on my phone. My uncle told me that after dropping out, Leo and my parents were all crammed into that rented room. He would lie in his bedroom all day, either fantasizing about getting rich overnight or pointing his finger at my parents and yelling at them for not being born into a wealthy family. The group chat was already buzzing with discussion. My little brother is in the same class as Leo. I heard on his first day, he stood at the front of the classroom and said, "I may be poor, but I'm different from you all. From now on, whoever gives me money to spend, I'll consider them my friend." He's obsessed with money. No wonder the whole class bullied him. He's always looking down on everyone at school, but it turns out he's the one everyone looks down on the most. I heard he even tried to borrow money from his classmates, but of course no one paid him any attention. The pinned post on the school forum is now about Leo. It's full of videos of him getting beaten up. Our class president was so much better. Every time we showed off to her, the look of admiration in her eyes made me want to buy her the same thing. By the way, since we're all scattered across the globe now, let's make a 4-year pact. In 4 years, we'll all come back and meet up in Shanghai. We can exchange resources and catch up. Everyone in the group agreed. Crystal specifically tagged me. "Sarah, you have to come. We'll see you in 4 years. I quickly replied, "Okay, see you in 4 years. See you then." Epilogue. The winter wind was chilly. I was dressed in a smart, well-fitting coat, driving toward Shanghai. The naive girl I once was had been replaced by a mature, capable woman. 6 months after graduation, the group chat had finally settled on a date for our reunion. I drove for several hundred miles and arrived at the hotel just before the agreed-upon time. Just as I locked my car, an incredulous voice called out from behind me, "Sarah?" The voice was very familiar. It had been a part of my life for over a decade. I frowned and turned around. My parents were standing a short distance away, staring at me blankly. After I changed my phone number, they had lost all contact with me. My legal ties to them were severed. In a country this vast, if I hadn't intentionally appeared here, they probably would never have seen me again. In the 4.5 years we hadn't seen each other, my parents had aged considerably. In the cold Shanghai weather, they were wrapped in thin coats that offered little warmth, holding a stack of flyers and trying to hand them to passers-by. My dad's eyes lit up as he looked at my clothes and then at my luxury car. His voice was filled with excitement. "Sarah, you're doing so well for yourself now? This is great. Your mother and I finally have something to look forward to." I gave him a humorless smile. "Dad, if you want me to support you, you'll have to wait until you're 60. You've still got another 10 years to go." My dad's expression changed. His lips moved, but no words came out. My mom put on a fawning smile. "Sarah, no matter what, you're still our daughter. What kind of daughter doesn't take care of her parents?" I put my keys back in my pocket. "I will take care of you. Didn't I just say? Come find me when you're 60. According to the law, I'll give you a few $100s a month. It's not much," but my tone shifted. "Your beloved Leo can surely give you more, right?" Just as I finished speaking, a figure, even more obese than 4 years ago, appeared. He grabbed my dad by the collar and yelled, "Give me the money you made from the flyers. I need to go to the internet cafe. If it wasn't for you making me transfer schools back then, I'd have gotten into a good university and be graduating into a great company by now. You ruined my life, so you have to support me forever." Leo shouted with conviction. When he turned and saw me, he squinted for a long time before finally recognizing me. Greed spread across his face. "Sis, you're rich now?" I took a step back, putting distance between us. "Sis, you must have met a lot of rich kids when you were at St. Regis, right? Can you introduce me to a girlfriend?" I scoffed, having no desire to continue the conversation. I turned and walked into the hotel. Leo and my parents tried to follow me but were stopped by the hotel security. I heard Leo's excited voice, "Mom, Dad, my sister's rich now. When she comes out, we'll ask her for money to buy a house, and we won't have to squeeze into that tiny apartment anymore. Maybe I can even marry a rich heiress." I chuckled and, following the room number from the group chat, pushed open the door. My former classmates were already there, gathered in small groups. After several years, everyone had matured. When they saw me, they greeted me cheerfully. "Hey, the class president is here. I almost didn't recognize you, Sarah. You've become so confident and beautiful. I heard you joined J Corp right after graduation, and are thriving there. As we were catching up, a furious-looking Jessica, who had arrived late, burst through the door. I quickly went over to her. Mississippi Jessica, what's wrong? Jessica gritted her teeth in anger. My dad has 3 illegitimate sons living abroad. For years, Jessica had believed she was an only child. After high school, she and Chad got engaged and were still happily together. The sudden appearance of 3 illegitimate sons was a huge shock. She slammed her fist on the table in frustration. I'm planning to fly out tonight. I'm not coming back until I've dealt with those sons and taken back the assets they have. But I need someone to help me abroad. It has to be someone I can trust. I blinked. I thought of the 3 relatives still waiting outside the hotel. They were probably still dreaming of their financial windfall, discussing how they would use my money to buy cars, houses, and live a life of luxury. I leaned in closer to Jessica. My lady, what about me? Jessica's face lit up with surprise, but then she frowned. This trip abroad could take years. Are you willing to do that? My lady, have you forgotten where I come from? I was born for this kind of grind. I'm the perfect person to help you. Besides, my college tuition was paid for by the second-hand luxury goods our class threw away for me. Now that I have a chance to repay that kindness, I have to seize this opportunity. A sense of relief washed over Jessica. She turned and hugged me tightly. Sarah, I knew it. You were always the best one in our class. After the party, I tossed my keys to the valet and asked him to drive my car to Jessica's family villa in Shanghai. I went with Jessica to the garage. As the car slowly pulled out and passed the hotel entrance, I saw my parents and Leo still staring intently inside. They were mesmerized by the glitz and glamour, their faces full of anticipation, already chattering about how they would show off to all our relatives once they got my money. I slowly averted my gaze and turned to Jessica. My lady, give me the files on those 3 sons. I'm suddenly very eager to help you get your inheritance back. The end.